Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Dorton and Doetkott Debate podcast. I am Lucas Dorton. No, probably the lack of hair over there. You're probably wondering, is that Nick? No, it is not. But I think my co-host today is a little bit better. So I'm happy
I
to have
appreciate it.
on a returner of the show, big time contributor to the show. We certainly appreciate having him on, Josh Amiling. Josh, how you doing?
Doing good, Lucas, man. It's draft season. It's
That's right.
almost here. It's almost here. Favorite time of year. We talk about it every single time. We say it every single time we do this, but it's probably our favorite sporting event.
Oh,
It's awesome.
I would, I 100, you took the words right out of my mouth. That was gonna be the next thing I was about to say is like from like a non-live like sporting event happening, this is like 100% my favorite thing to watch every year. Love it. Love it. Last year, my team didn't have a first round pick, so I didn't get to enjoy it quite as much as I would have liked to, but have one this year, so I'll be a little more locked in, which is good. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Josh. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, man. Let's do this.
Time. Sweet. So I will be doing a different episode coming out probably not too long after this. Well, I'll be going pick by pick with Caleb Sipe, who has joined the podcast before too. So today, this is just gonna kind of be an overall breakdown of players, position groups, people that Josh thinks are worth mentioning and talking about a little bit, and kind of maybe those diamond in the rough type players that the average fan may not know a whole lot about. So, should be exciting. So, we'll dive into it here. What we are going to do, however, though, for the pick thing, we're going to do our first five picks in the NFL draft and who we think um, makes the most sense. So, it won't necessarily be a prediction, but if those players are available there, who do we think would make the most sense to go to those teams? So, we'll just dive right into it here. Back to back years, Chicago Bears having the number one overall pick last year. Remember trading it to the Carolina Panthers, and then Carolina being bad enough to where Chicago got the number one overall pick again. So I think this is a pretty easy one. Um, Probably the most locked in number one pick I feel we've had in a while. I know last year there was some discrepancy. Is it going to be CJ Stroud? Is it going to be Bryce Young? Is it going to be Anthony Richardson? Maybe. But I think Caleb Williams probably is locked in at number one for the Bears here. What do you think?
Yeah, it's Caleb Williams. Of course, there's always like a little talk here and there. Oh, is it gonna be Jaden Daniels? Oh, is it Drake May? And then it's Caleb Williams. It's I think like he was one of the few top 30 picks uh NFL teams that get top 30 draft visits, and I think he was like one of the few, and I think he might have been the only one, honestly. I don't remember for sure, but yeah, it's him. And like you said, he's been a lock since last year.
Yeah.
Even just like, oh yeah, he's gonna be the number one pick in the 2024 draft. Just depends when he gets him. And
Hmm.
the Bears lucked into him.
Yeah.
So good on Chicago. They'll hopefully have a passer that passes for over 4,000 yards. Did you know that no Chicago Bears passer has thrown for more than 4,000
Yeah, that's
yards?
insane. That's insane. I know they've never had like elite quarterback play, but you thought, maybe a Jay Cutler would run into a 4,000 yard season once.
Nope. Nope.
That's not.
Goodness gracious.
That's
But
wild.
yeah, it's got to be Caleb Williams here. Yeah, that's my pick there.
Yep, I agree 100%. I'm with you on that. So here's one thing that I did want to ask you though about Caleb Williams. A lot of people, the only concern that they have with him is the personality. You hear all the rumors like, oh, he wants an ownership stake in the team. Oh, like he's not going to go to the Bears. He's going to, pull an Eli Manning on draft night or something like that. Um, I don't know about you. I obviously, we hear it a lot during this type of the year, right? It's lying season. It's lying season. What can come out to hurt a player's draft stock so they can potentially get dropped down to your team? Now, we all know Caleb Williams definitely is, a larger personality that we have maybe seen in a while, but this guy hasn't come out and said, "Yeah, I'm not playing for the Chicago Bears, don't draft me." To me, I'm not concerned at all. I don't think that it should be a concern. And honestly, if the guy's going to get you 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns, say whatever you want. I don't care. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I guess does that concern you at all?
No, there's a player, there's an athlete who's really, really good. Some would say maybe the GOAT, some would say, and he's a businessman. He's a billionaire because he focused on the business side stuff too. And that's LeBron James, and I don't think anyone is too concerned with LeBron and his off the court stuff. So it's kind of the same thing. There was a scout who said like Caleb Williams wants to be the Jay-Z of the NFL, and I feel like Jay-Z's done pretty good for himself too. So, you know, um, yeah, Caleb's great on the field already, and off the field, whatever. He's doing stuff like, and he's not doing anything knuckleheaded. He's
Right.
just doing bit like he did like a there's like a mate. I don't know any modeling thing, but apparently there's this giant modeling thing that's like worldwide famous in Miami, and Caleb Williams attended, and like actually did walk the runway. That's not doing knucklehead stuff. That's just
Right.
being a businessman. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
I'm
I
with
feel
you.
like that's a good thing. That
Yeah.
if you want your quarterback doing stuff off the field instead, of course, like maybe you'd want him to be all focused on football, but like that's gonna burn his brain. Let
Yeah.
him do other free. Let him do other things, and
Yeah.
instead of like speeding or drinking or other random stuff like that. He's walking runways. That's fine.
Yeah.
He has a purple or pink phone case, whatever it was. I don't care. I have a purple phone case. It's not really showing. Here you go. Purple.
There you go.
So whatever. It's a good phone case. It's an OtterBox, but like
Oh,
I
it's a
didn't just want
job.
black. Exactly, because quick tangent, everyone has a black OtterBox case, so like get a different color, and the only other option was purple. I'm like, that's fine by me. So who cares? Caleb Williams will be fine.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not worried at all. But anyways, most locked in number one pick that I think we've had in a while here, so we can move on from him. Number two overall, we have the Washington Commanders. Now, obviously, this is kind of where now it starts to get a little dicey. I think for sure quarterback is the play here for Washington, regardless. Now the question is it Drake May? Is it Jaden Daniels? I guess what do you see happening here with Washington at two?
I guess it's one of those things where the guy who everyone thought was the clear number two for a while, Drake May, I don't know why he just got put to the side because the new flashy shiny thing, Jaden Daniels, um showed up and people want Jaden Daniels, and it just seems like Daniels is gonna go too, which it's probably fine. Like Daniels is fine. We'll break down the prospects later, like you said. But I'd go May. I think May's better, but I think it's a good situation. Like the offensive line is they have a few pieces on the offensive line in Washington. They have really good receivers, um, decent enough running backs. So like it's not like the worst situation to drop a quarterback in. So picking Daniels or May is fine. But I feel from all the reporting and stuff, it's probably going to be Daniels. Which again, I'd rather go May. But Daniels, I still like Daniels a lot.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be Jaden Daniels going to Washington.
I agree. I think Jaden Daniels of him or May, I think has the higher potential to be better. I think more quarterback ready, quote unquote, right now, probably May, but I don't think Daniels is all that far behind them. Um, So again, toss up for that one, but they probably go Daniels. I agree with you. Number three, we have the New England Patriots. Now, obviously, there's a lot of speculation of potential trades here. We don't have to go into trades or anything. This is just assuming that everyone holds on to their picks here, which likely won't happen, but never know. Never know. Um, Patriots at three, got to go quarterback, right? Got to go quarterback. Who are we thinking at three for New England?
Yeah, just whoever's left uh between Daniels and May.
Yeah.
And there's like the talk that maybe they take a wide receiver because the whole team is so bad, or maybe you trade down because you just need to build up the team. But there's also, and yeah, like in the ideal world, you build up your team and then you can just drop in anybody. You can drop in a Brock Purdy and then you'll be just fine.
Mhm.
But that's so hard to do. That's why there's only Brock Purdy is like the only real example of that. I mean, there's other examples, of course, but when you're this high, you have to go get the quarterback,
Mhm.
um, no matter what, just because a quarterback can lift your team from the depths of hell. And that's where the Patriots
Yeah.
are right now.
Yeah.
So and there's no guarantee that you're gonna be here. Um, and there's no guarantee that like next year's quarterbacks are like let's say the Patriots are like bad for next 2 years. There's no guarantee that there's going to be a May or a Daniels, um, or JJ McCarthy. We'll get to him later. That will be available for you. So you have to get your quarterback, um, especially young, like young rookie deal, everything like that. Yes, you could maybe swing for the fences on a veteran who comes through, but really, a really good veteran quarterback never really goes free, except for injuries, and then you're dealing with injuries. So you have to take, if you're New England, a quarterback here.
And Gerard Mayo, new head coach. You would guess he probably wants his guy to work with, and I would agree. I think got to go quarterback. The Belichick regime, I don't think it was going to be as clear cut as it should be. I think there's always potential, like, oh, maybe we'll get a wide receiver we could have gotten in the fourth round here in the first round, but um, new regime here. We'll see what happens. Arizona at 4 here. Now, this is potentially where we might see the first non-quarterback coming off. I think Kyler Murray is likely still going to be the guy. Maybe they go wide receiver. What do you think happens here at 4?
Yeah, I think you need to go wide receiver here. They have like a bunch of nice, awesome number 3 slot receivers. Um, but that doesn't carry an offense. Trey McBride's a really good tight end, pretty good tight
Yep.
end. But you need a wide receiver, and you can get Marvin Harrison Jr., Roman Dunze, Malik Neighbors. We'll get to the wide receivers, but get a wide receiver here. And there's some talks that maybe they might do what they did last year, where they traded down, then traded back up. Um, yeah, go ahead, do whatever. Just get a wide receiver, please get a like a actual number 1 wide receiver for Kyler Murray, because I'm still holding. I know Kyler's had his ups and downs, but again, the offense was under Kingsbury was really, really simplified. Really, really, it wasn't like NFL good passing wise, honestly. Um, and Kyler's been hurt. Just get him a nice big wide receiver who he can throw to. Just be confident. Let the offense cook, please. I'm begging
Maserati
you.
Marv.
Exactly. I mean, as a Seahawks fan, like I honestly want them to like draft a kicker here, just mess up and draft a kicker. But as a fan of like football, just please get Kyler Murray a wide receiver.
Yep. Yep. Get him the rock. Get him the rock. And then at 5 here, we have the Chargers. We have the Chargers at 5. Now, when Harbaugh first joined the team, you could probably make an argument for a few different positions. But now it's like, all right, Austin Eckler, see ya. Keenan Allen, see ya. Williams, see ya. Uh, Got to go offense here. Give someone for Herbert to throw to. Marvin Harrison's off the board. What do you think the Chargers do here at 5?
Even if he was on the board, I'm not saying that um he's not worthy of the 5th pick. Of course, I'd take him in a heartbeat.
Mhm.
But I just think the way Harbaugh loves his teams, college, NFL, when he was with the 49ers, all that stuff, he likes offensive linemen. And the Chargers offensive line kind of stinks. And the whole thing is that, yeah, of course, you want Herbert to be able to, you want to give Herbert, especially because you paid him his giant contract, you want to give him cheap offensive talent. But the wide receiver class is so deep. And yes, like you can get a clear alpha number 1 with at number 5,
Mhm.
unless some crazy trades happen. But also, you want to keep Herbert upright. And it's kind of the balance of it's the whole thing like when the Bengals were drafting, it's like, oh, do they draft Sewell or
Yep.
Chase? And like
Yep.
at the end, they went with Chase. And yes, like the offensive line still came back to bite the Bengals a bit, but they've made do by getting guys. The Chiefs have made do by getting average to just below average tackles and guards and everything, but making it do just having dudes who can play in the NFL, and then getting good enough wide receivers. Um, so I just think that the way Harbaugh likes his teams and all this stuff and keeping Herbert upright and the offensive line being bad, they're gonna go a tackle. Um, I personally want them to go offensive line just to keep Herbert upright because I think he's good enough that he can lift wide receivers. Like he had some bad wide receivers when like Williams and Allen were banged up, but he still kept the offense afloat to it for a time. But then the offensive line just kept killing him. So they need pass blocking. please, to keep Herbert alive, please. So I think they're gonna go offensive line.
Yep.
Would I be surprised if they go wide receiver? No, like because also, like you said, they don't have any wide receivers. So, but yeah, I think just the way Harbaugh likes his teams, they're gonna go big on the offensive line and then just load up there. And then there's plenty of picks that you can get in the later rounds or middle to later rounds. A wide receiver who will be good enough.
Yep. Yep, we shall see. Will be very interesting to tune in here on this Thursday for the draft. But breaking away from that now, we will go into our position groups, players to highlight there. Now, we're obviously not going to go over every single potential NFL prospect for each position. This might be an 8-hour show if we do that. But we'll just highlight some of the top ones here, ones that we think are worth chatting about. Yeah, so we will start with the most important position in football, and that is quarterback. We briefly mentioned a couple of them, but we'll dive into a little more here. So Caleb Williams is obviously QB1, like you mentioned, has been since last football season, before this draft even started. So a lot of high praise. Would you say that this is the most, I guess, anticipated draft prospect since Trevor Lawrence, or do you think even bigger than Trevor Lawrence? What do you think? Or maybe someone completely different.
Probably the same as Trevor Lawrence, maybe a little bit more because he has a stronger arm, but
Yeah.
like Lawrence was in the eyes of like NFL and whatever was just more polished and everything, even though Williams is very polished. He has like there's all the highlights, of him running around, breaking tackles, throwing crazy off-platform throws and everything. But when Williams has a clean pocket, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, he looks like an NFL. He operates like an NFL quarterback. He has all the moves and everything. He's a little short. He's only six. He's like just over 6 foot, but it's fine. He's more than big enough. He's just a thick dude. He just breaks tackles, and the shortness hasn't affected him. He can make all the throws all over the field. Um, it's kind of like last year with Bryce Young, where Bryce Young was really good at escaping and everything, and that was really fun and a magician. But Caleb Williams is that times 100, and he's stronger, and he actually has an NFL arm, and he's crazy. Um, I guess the only knock on him would be that because he has all these physical tools and the mental ability, he will pass up, especially when the game goes along and it gets tighter and you're trying to win a game. He's like, oh, okay, I could take this check down here, which he does. He does take his check downs most of the time. He'll go through his progressions and take the easy throw. But when it's crunch time, or it's like end of the first half, it's like, okay, we need to go make a play. He'll be like, check down, or I can like move a little bit and off my back foot launch a 40-yard nuke to this guy and hit him in the hands. And then usually they drop it because the receivers is shared wide at USC weren't that good. But he'll do that, and then sometimes it's awesome, and then sometimes it's an interception. But it's you'd rather have a guy who's overly aggressive and then rein that in as opposed to a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo who's accurate, good, all this stuff, but just wouldn't make aggressive throws. So yeah, Caleb Williams is so much fun to watch, and like we said, the Bears will finally have hopefully a good quarterback.
Yeah. Do are we worried at all that he won't live up to the expectations? I know a lot of times when players, we've seen in the past have come into the league with, I don't know if, that there's been a bigger hype for a guy coming in. I'm sure there has, since we've been like actively watching football and paying attention. Um, but going to the Chicago Bears, obviously not a rich history of elite quarterback play ever, really. I mean, they've always kind of been able to get by at times, but haven't had the best of quarterback situations. And again, now this is Carolina's pick, so this is not the Bears being the worst team in the league last year, why they have the number one overall pick. But are we worried at all that Caleb Williams, you know, is gonna struggle and he's not gonna be able to live up to that hype? I mean, year one, I think it'd be fair to maybe see that, just to try and figure things out. But in the long haul, is that something that we're concerned about or not so much? Do we think he breaks the cycle of of mid to bad quarterback play for the Chicago Bears.
Um, of course, there's always a chance. Like, there's always guys who like are seen as the guy, and then they don't work out for across sports. But my biggest worry for him, it's not nothing to do with him. It's to do with the organization, where it's Matt Eberflus is the head coach, and everyone thought he should be fired. But then like the defense turned around, so he stayed. The offensive coordinator left and everything. They got new OC in there. Um, it's just if there's another bad year, is Eberflus fired, and then the offensive coordinator is probably gone. Then Caleb has to work with new offensive coordinators and everything, and then he has to learn everything again. And it's nothing that he ever does. It's just that the churn of the coaches just doesn't give him a stable environment because it's all about the environment. Like just thinking about when Trey Lance went to excuse me, the 49ers, and he was never able to take over and because of injuries and stuff, but also seeing what Brock Purdy's done on the offense, you can't tell me that if Justin Fields or if Zach Wilson had slipped to the 49ers, and maybe not Zach Wilson to be honest, but maybe if Mac Jones had gone to the 49ers, like a lot of people reported that they wouldn't be good. The quarterbacks wouldn't be good because of the offense. And of course, like the 49ers, because they're a super offense and everything. But again, like Patrick Mahomes, he was able to sit for a year. Jordan Love was able to sit for 4 years or whatever that was. And then like now it's like, oh man, Jordan Love is good. Jordan Love's real good. You gotta let it's all about the situation. And I don't know. I don't think there's anything with Williams that will stop him from being a good player. Um, on or off the field. It's just again the situation. Can the organization give him stability enough to where like maybe if they start to being unstable, he's already established and he can carry the load. But if you just drop him in and then it's all wacky front office and everything, coaching, I don't know. So that's my biggest worry for
Yep,
Caleb Williams.
I would agree. I would agree. Move on to another quarterback prospect here. Drake May touched on him a little bit. Um, I know you'd shared with it. You had shared with me the Ringer. They come out with a great draft profile of a bunch of players each year, so I love checking that out. They said shades of Justin Herbert. Do we see a lot of Justin Herbert and Drake May? And what do we think? I think a lot of times people look, okay, North Carolina quarterback, Mitch Trubisky. How did that turn out? And I think a lot of people are looking at that, and that is not mutually exclusive. Just because they both went to the same school does not mean that they are both going to have the same success or failures in the NFL. But Drake May, what are our thoughts on him? I think he, body wise, 6'4". I mean, he's a big guy. He can sling it with the best of them. Um, do we think he's NFL ready?
For a few months, he was my QB1.
Okay.
Few months, just because, like you said, he's big, 6'4", or tall, 6'4", big, 223, and like he has potential to put even more weight on his frame, like healthy weight.
Hmm.
He can run. That's the thing with like Justin Herbert. Like people forget that Justin Herbert can run.
Hmm.
Drake May can run. Over 2 seasons starting, over 1,000 yards rushing, 19 touchdowns. Um, he's not like a burner, like Jaden Daniels, who we'll get to later, but he can run when he needs to. He's got all kinds of throws in his bag. He's not necessarily like different arm angles and stuff, but he'll be creative. He had a play where he was scrambling to his left near the goal line against Pittsburgh, and then he threw the ball lefty for a touchdown. He comes from an athletic family. His dad was a good quarterback at North
Yep.
Carolina. His mom was an all-state basketball player. Luke May is his brother, legendary basketball player.
Yep.
He had a brother Cole pitched at Florida.
Yep.
Uh, his brother Bo was such a good athlete that despite double-digit knee injuries, he was able to walk on at UNC. Didn't really play much, but so there. His grandpa on his father's side struck out 18 batters one time in college in the game. So and also I'm gonna whisper this. He's white. So like I don't know why like there's been a slide of him as not the clear QB2, but I think it's maybe because like he only has 2 years of college experience. He sat behind Sam Howell, and Sam Howell was good in college. So it's no indictment on May. But May's like a little bit raw, just experience wise, like he's got all the tools. And then sometimes his footwork gets really weird. So like on a deep ball, like the footwork doesn't really mesh up as much because you kind of just lay the ball out there. But on short throws, his feet are pointed left, and he's like, "I'm gonna throw this right." It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he makes like really stupid decisions. Like he has some really bad interceptions. But again, I just think it's because he's young, he's aggressive. The team was kind of bad around him, so he's trying to carry them.
Yeah.
The offense was also really bad, where the reads weren't necessarily like. There's the whole thing where we talk about scanning the field. You don't really want to see a guy going like back and forth while scanning. You want to be like this side, then work to this side. It's kind of a thing where the offense is like, okay, we're gonna go all over the place. I don't know why. Um, but yeah, I think that he's just such a freak athlete, and he's got all the tools, and he's shown more than enough. Um, where it's gonna be a little, he might have a little bit of a rougher rookie season because he will need to learn and he needs more reps. But at like December, when December rolls around, if he's been playing since week 1, December rolls around, it's like, oh, okay, he looks a lot more settled in. And then after a full off season, like settling in, year 2 comes in, it's like, okay, this guy's a
Yeah.
good one. That's what I think with Drake May. Yeah.
Yep, he'll be a solid year 2 guy for sure, I think, like,
Hmm.
I agree, there'll be a lot of those growing pains early right away. "Oh, man, bust, they make a bad pick." Just give him some time, he'll figure it out, he'll figure it out. Fun fact, his biggest NIL money purchase was $700 golf shoes, so he's good with his money, I guess, there you
Yep.
go. There you go.
Exactly.
Moving on to our next guy is Jaden Daniels here. Again, we kind of mentioned it before. We're not sure who's going to be the second quarterback off the board for a long time. It definitely was Drake May for the last couple months. I think it's definitely been Jaden Daniels. So we shall see. But Jaden Daniels, again, another big dude. He tall, 6'4", and but he can move too, and he can throw. So he's got you know, you talk about dual threat quarterbacks. I think he has potential to be the best dual threat quarterback in this draft. A lot of times there's one part of the game that usually is more elite than the other. I think he's pretty solid at both of them. Now, obviously, there's a potential project here, but we'll see what happens. But Jaden Daniels, what do we think? What's our thoughts on him?
He is so fun, and so infuriating because he played a long time. He was in college for a long time. Um, but he flashed his freshman year when he had Brandon Ayuk to throw to, which means
Hmm.
like that shows how long he's been in college. But yeah, he was good. He had a 17-2 inter touchdown to interception ratio his freshman year, pretty good. And then like the other years when he hasn't struggled when he transferred to LSU, 17-3, and then this last season 40-4 touchdown to interception ratio. So he takes care of the ball, interception wise, but he will run. He's so good. Like, sorry, Lucas, but go turn on the Florida game and go look at him just breaking off just
I won't.
80 yard
I
runs.
won't. But I'll take your
Um,
word.
yeah, he's not like he doesn't have like agility. Some people are like, oh, he's Lamar Jackson. Like, no, Lamar Jackson could snap your ankles. Jaden Daniels doesn't really do that. But he's kind of like he'll run and like he'll make these little cuts that are like, okay, that's good, but it's not like anything like ankle breaking, crazy,
Right.
stupid highlight reel stuff. But he's gonna run away from you. Got an awesome deep ball. He had again like his freshman year, he beat Justin Herbert. He had a beautiful deep ball, like a third and like 20 something, to like ice the game against Oregon. And he did that against with LSU this year. And there's kind of the downside. It's like, oh, was he only good because he had got to throw to Brandon Ayuk and then the awesome LSU receivers? But then also, I think there's a weird thing where it's like he was a 5 year starter, and there's the whole thing like, oh, was he good because he was older than everybody else in the environment, or was it like a natural progression? So I said, all right, let's say it was a regular college career. He was a top prospect. He would have been drafted. He would have come out early after 3 years, drafted in 2022. That's the Kenny Pickett draft, Desmond Ridder, Bailey Zappi, Brock Purdy draft. And so after this last NFL season, it would have been 2 years under his belt in the NFL. So like take his he's been going up, and like yes, he exploded this last year. So let's tone it down a bit or a lot because it would have been him in the NFL. But yeah, it kind of makes sense that okay, he's got a good growth curve, and not all growth is just a straight line.
Hmm.
His kind of a little up and down, but it's been mostly up. So it kind of makes sense that yeah, this is following a natural progression of him being as a quarterback. The more reps he gets under him, the better he looks. And so I think that it's Caleb Williams in a tier by himself, then Drake May and Jaden Daniels are in the same tier, but Daniels is a bit low. I have him a bit lower um than some people probably have him, where like I would not take him like New England. Like if it was all things perfect, I wouldn't take him because I don't think that's a good environment. Um, I think he needs a better team around him. Daniels does, but he's still really good and crazy runner, even though some he just doesn't know how to slide. Like he had to play against Florida State where on like a 2nd and 8, he ran for 2 yards and then for some reason jumped into 6 bodies who were all defenders and just got plastered. I don't know. But yeah, I'll kind of spoil a little bit of a thing. But LSU and Alabama played at the same time as Washington and USC did this year. And I was watching both games. And plus, I was tweeting from the Transfer Portal CFP account, tweeting out highlights of those games because those were the big games of the day. And it was a whiplash going back and forth because the USC Washington game, it was Michael Penix Jr. and Caleb Williams just launching, just bomb after bomb, accurate throw after accurate throw. Then you turn to the Alabama game, it's Jaden Daniels and Alabama's quarterback Jalen Milroe, who's a really good athlete. And when he
Yep.
comes out, I think he should convert to running back or wide receiver because I don't think he can be a quarterback, but he's such a good athlete. Watching Daniels and Milroe, they were breaking the game too, but they were running. So it's like quarterbacks running, quarterbacks throwing. It was craziness and it was really fun. But that kind of shows that, yeah, Daniel's a little bit behind in the passing area, doesn't have like the biggest arm, but at the end of the day, I still think he's going to be a really solid quarterback, and just his rushing ability is going to keep his floor so high because he is such a special runner.
Yep. Only player in FBS history with 12,000 passing yards and 3,000 rushing yards. Now, obviously, being been in college for as long as he has, that definitely makes sense. But nonetheless, still have to be able to compete when your numbers call. When your numbers call, that's for sure. Next QB I want to touch on here is JJ McCarthy, the national champion winning quarterback here in the Michigan Wolverines. Um, so me personally, and this is not anything new, and I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times, in draft coverage. McCarthy worries me, and it's not for anything that he did wrong. It's for the environment in which he was in. He, I feel he didn't have to. There weren't a ton of times to where he had to like have an unreal, just stupid good game for them to win. I think having Corum, having a pretty solid O line in Michigan, he didn't have to be the guy to go out there and win games. Now, when it was asked on him to make a play or to go, hey, get us a first down, get us a touchdown, he could make the play. So I think he definitely can be a serviceable, solid NFL quarterback. But my concern with him is I don't know that we got to see him like go. And you can't, and now saying that, you can't really hold that against him. I mean, you have Harbaugh as your head coach, and what he was doing is why they won the national championship because he didn't have to do a ton. He had to make the plays when they needed, and he was able to make them. Um, so what are, I guess, your thoughts on JJ McCarthy? Is he a guy that you think could maybe find his way into the top five into those quarterbacks, or do you think he drops a little bit further? What are your thoughts on McCarthy?
I think he's the clear quarterback four in this class,
Okay,
and because this one thing is he's young.
true.
Like Drake May
21.
is also young, but like McCarthy's gonna be 20. He just turned 21 in
Yeah,
January,
yeah.
and he's still learning. And he's again, like you said, when he needed to make a play, he did make a play. They didn't
Hmm.
trust him much, and is that more on the offense or they didn't trust him? I honestly think it's more on the offense.
Okay.
Um, because like the Penn State game, they just ran in the second half. They had like one pass, but wasn't official because like there was a penalty on the play. Um, in college, he only had 795 career dropbacks and 713 total throws.
Okay.
In the regular season, Patrick Mahomes had 597 throws just in a season
Hmm.
and 1,713 total throws in a career for McCarthy. But on third or sixth, this is from Hayden Winks of Underdog Fantasy. On third or sixth or more, McCarthy averaged 10.9 yards per pass. That's in through the air. So like he wasn't just completing short and then his players would make
Hmm.
plays. He was making those throws. Um, he's a pretty good athlete, a good runner. Go watch his there was like a flea flicker um against Alabama in the Rose Bowl where the I think the running back throws him a really like bad like lateral back to him, and McCarthy like one hands it and in the same motion while falling down is able to like get a throw off. Like it was really really impressive. But again, like he's young, makes some really stupid decisions. Go watch the first play of the Rose Bowl where he throws an interception right to a defender, and if the defender's toe isn't out of bounds, it would have been an interception. Um, but I think it's like just please let him sit and learn. If honestly, I know it's got to be the ideal situation, but if he can take the Jordan Love route and sit for like a few years, he'll come up. He can be pretty good.
Yeah.
I think this is gonna sound bad, but I think he can be a super 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 souped up Brock Purdy, and
Okay.
that's Brock Purdy
We're
almost won
just
the
in the
Super
Super
Bowl.
Bowl.
Yeah, and I think like he'll be miles better than Purdy, but it'll be in that mold where you gotta have a really good team around him, but he'll also be enough to win you a Super Bowl. I think where if you dropped in McCarthy on the 49ers, not like right now, but let's say he had when if he has the experience when he gets to the amount of experience that Purdy has under his belt, take that you would have dropped McCarthy on this year's 49ers. They might have won. They probably would have won the Super Bowl. That's because just he's got more athleticism, more pop in his arm. He's not the biggest arm, but he's got more pop. Um, but yeah, you cannot have McCarthy starting week one. You cannot do that. Honestly, I don't want to see him starting until like maybe it's garbage time at like week 17, 18. But yeah, he's not the super athlete. He's not going to take over a team, but I still think he's really, really good at the end of the day. He's good. He's not what everyone was saying, like, oh, like he's like the next great Michigan quarterback, and he's not so bad. But
Yep.
just please, 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 again, it's about fit and system for a lot of these guys. At the end of the day, please remember that for these prospects.
Yep.
McCarthy really needs to sit and learn,
Yep.
which I think he'll be capable of doing. He did that in college. He came in as a top prospect, sat behind Cade McNamara, who was a fine college quarterback. But then when McCarthy came in, it's like, oh, there's a little more pop in this offense. So
Hmm.
I think that's what McCarthy can bring.
Yep. Yep. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I would agree with you. I think a lot of times there are a lot of people out there that are like, oh, best way to learn is to just throw them in the fire. And for some quarterbacks, that's 100%. I agree. But I'm very much on board with you with McCarthy. I think if you throw him into the fire, if the situation around him is not good, that's a you're going to be regretting that pick. You're going to be regretting that pick. So I agree. I think bench him, let him learn, let him sit behind, figure things out, figure out the team around him, and then it should be good. So we'll see what happens there with Mr. Michigan man JJ McCarthy. So moving on to your team, Mr. Milling, Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. Um, you know, you talk about arm strength. You talk about a guy that can sling it down the field and accurately sling it down the field. This guy's got to be towards, if not at the top of the list of quarterbacks in the draft that you can do that. Now, obviously, the injuries has is that's a natural concern that people are going to have. He's had a few, sorry, season-ending injuries, and older, almost 24 years old too. But again, I think given in the right team right situation could work out well. Um, you're obviously going to know a lot more about this guy than most other people I would have on here. So talk to me about Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah, so I first saw Penix during the COVID year when Indiana upset Penn State. He played awesome. He had a scramble. Um, he's not gonna run. He ran a 4.58 at his pro day 40, which blew everybody's mind because he never showed that ever, even when he was healthy. I think like he got training to like so he could like learn how to like run like proper form for like sprinting. But he's not gonna be a burner. But yeah, he had a scramble at the end of game against Penn State on 2 point conversion, dove for the pylon, might have been down, might not have actually made to the pylon in time, but they caught it. And so like if there's 5 yards, he'll get you 5 yards. Like you said, like he's got an awesome. He'll launch that sucker, man. He's not afraid to make throws. And he's clutch. He had some injuries during the season, and he still kept playing through it. It's awesome. His injuries a lot, like right ACL, right shoulder, right ACL again, left AC joint. That's his throwing arm. His mechanics are like kind of weird throwing the ball, and it's not just because he's left-handed. I've flipped the video. It's really easy to do on your phones, guys. You can flip the video and see how throwing right-handed. Still, it's really weird and it's inconsistent, but he's aggressive. That's awesome. I wouldn't touch him though till the third round. I don't.
Okay.
I don't. You say he's accurate, yes, but it's kind of like he's really good. Like, okay, I can just throw it up to a spot and know my guy's gonna be
Right.
there, which that's part of it. Like that's really good. But again, from Hayden Winks, Underdog Fantasy, catchable ball rate of 15 plus yard air throw, so the ball travels at least 15 yards in the air. Percentage: Jaden Daniels 86, Bo Nix 78, Spencer Rattler 78, McCarthy 75, Caleb Williams 74, Drake May 71, Penix 69.
Mm,
Again, that's still pretty good, but
nice.
that's real low compared to these other guys. Um, Again, he's old, and the injuries really matter. And the thing is, like, he's an old school pocket quarterback. Yes, he had the game against Texas in the college football playoff where he played out of it was an out of body experience for me watching as a fan and probably for him, where he was making guys miss in the pocket. He was scrambling for like 9, 10 yards at a time when he needed to. It's not the same as CJ Stroud against Georgia, where CJ Stroud, there was the concern that, oh, can he operate in the pocket? Can he move? And it's like, guys, there is tape of CJ Stroud running for 60-yard touchdowns. It didn't happen that much because he didn't really do it at Ohio State, but when he needed to, he could. And then the Georgia game just proved that, yes, he can move in the pocket and has this escapability and still make those on field. Penix does not do that. Yes, he did that in the Texas game, but that's the only game I've ever seen him do that, ever. And I watched it again. I watched him back at Indiana all the way through. I, he's kind of a statue, and there's any pressure for the most part, he's gonna like freak out. Not that he doesn't thrive under pressure. Like he's good under pressure, but like, he kind of speeds things up because I can't get hit, and then like his mechanics, which are already kind of bad, like fall apart even more. So I wouldn't touch him till the third round because I still think he's aggressive, good. Like you said, get him in a nice situation, um, with receivers, decent receivers. Even at Indiana, he had Wap Villier and Ty Freifogel. If you people don't know, go look at 2020 Indiana. Those dudes ballers. Okay, when he has good receivers, like he's good, and then situation kind of crumbled around him.
Yeah.
I just keep shrugging because, yeah, like so much fun, so much fun. I love him, and so thankful for what he did at UW and everything. And those entertaining teams at Indiana, man, took Ohio State to the buzzer. Justin Fields, Ohio State to the buzzer, but he's a winner, and that's fun. But I just don't think he's worthy of being a second round pick. Well, maybe like back end of the second round because like whatever, that's basically third round.
Hmm.
But I really don't think that he's should ever. There's like talk about him like, oh, can he go? And I wouldn't be surprised just because how quarterbacks are if he goes in the first round, even like top 15. But I would not do that at all. So, but again, still love Penix, but I just think there's a lot of red flags.
Knee jerk reaction. Best spot for him.
I know it's high, but if he can go to the Raiders later,
Yeah.
their offensive line is like decent enough. They have Devontae Adams, they have Jacoby Myers. Those are two. Oh, Adams isn't big, but you know, we all know like he plays big and he's one of the best. Um, but and Myers is also pretty good. They have the tight end Michael Mayer. Um, Good receiving options. Again, like where he can just like chuck it up to them, just let them go get it. Put the spots for them. It's a good situation. Um, Again, like if he can just sit and like learn somewhere else would be a good thing, but I don't really know. Because because I think he might be a guy where he's a bit too good to be a backup. Where if you draft him, whoever your starter is going to feel is not going to like that. So you got to also consider the guys on your roster right now if you're an NFL team, like how they fit. Nothing again, not the panic says it's not character issues or anything. Just if you bring in the new shiny toy, you're gonna feel pressure on you. So
Mm-hmm. Yep. Cool. As far as quarterbacks go, was there any other guys that you wanted to touch on, or are we good moving on to the next position group?
yeah, I'll just touch on these guys real quick. Bo Nix, a lot of experience under his belt. Flash as a freshman, kind of tailed off, but that's kind of the offense in my opinion. Good enough athlete. The offense at Oregon was simple, really simple, but he executed it well. And again, a lot of reps under his belt. He's a winner. I think he could be a super high end backup, like really good backup, and a decent starter who like he can get you like the Steelers are the Steelers. If he was on the Steelers, he would get them to the playoffs. That's also like showing how good the Steelers are, but like he could do just enough to sneak into the playoffs. Um, Spencer Rattler. So my whole thing was Jalen Hurts, his last year at Oklahoma when he transferred to Oklahoma, when they got blown up by LSU in the college football playoff, he got benched at the end of the game just because he doesn't get hurt. They put in Spencer Rattler, and the zip difference that you could see going from Jalen Hurts' arm to Spencer Rattler's arm was enormous. I think Rattler has one of the best pure arms in this class, but he's kind of like Baker Mayfield, where he thinks he's a good athlete and he's not a good athlete, so he'll run around and then he'll get tackled. Um, he was kind of a knucklehead in high school and early in college, but who wasn't, honestly? Um, when he transferred to South Carolina, he was voted team captain, so that showed his maturity. Um, he's actually like kind of a good like footwork wise and everything. It's like, oh, that kind of looks good. And then there's like any pressure, it's like, oh, it's gone. But I think he's got like if you again, if you sit and let him learn, he's got the arm, man. That arm is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Go watch some of his throws. Austin Reed, from a D2 West Florida, then Kentucky, or then Western Kentucky. He went to an FCS school, I forgot where. I interviewed him for the our magazine, the Transfer Portal magazine last year. Super fun guy, super smart guy, super competitive. Has an athletic family, willing to admit that his younger sister Brooke is a better athlete than him, lacrosse and basketball. He said like he likes winning on the road because, quote, it's a chance to be competitive and show a bunch of people that I'm better than their players. That's awesome. That's so awesome.
I love
I
that.
first heard of him because at West Florida, he won the D2 national title against Minnesota State Mankato.
Mm.
Um, there was like a play like at the end of the half, where they were at their own 1 yard line, and I think they were up. So like it's a situation, oh, you can just run out the clock and get to halftime. No, they threw a go ball and he completed it. Like he's aggressive. He's a stocky dude, but his arm is really limited NFL wise, but I think he's just so smart that if anything, not saying like he could become Kellen Moore, where Kellen Moore is like a head coach candidate, but like he could be a real. You're gonna say Austin Reed, oh, he's this really good up and coming offensive coach in 8 years, and if anything, he'll be a nice practice squad guy. Michael Pratt, Tulane, fun deep ball, runs well, average arm, backup. Devin Leary has a great NFL arm, but I don't know what happened. Probably because of injuries, but like he just like disappeared off the face of the earth. Joe Milton can throw the ball over the mountains, but it's so inaccurate that he could throw the ball and take off someone's head in the 14th throw when he's trying to complete a check down. I'm not kidding. He's so inaccurate. But he's big. He's 6'5", 246, ran a 4'6", 240, which is the same as Logan Thomas, or 1/10 of a second slower than Logan Thomas. Hundredth, sorry. Tenths, hundredths. I don't know my decimals. Logan Thomas ran a 4.61. Logan Thomas, if y'all remember, big, strapping quarterback out of Virginia Tech, has a cannon for an arm, but inaccurate. Became a tight end, really good tight end. I think Joe Milton could become a really good tight end if he's willing to transition there. Jordan Travis, Louisville and Florida State, winner, good athlete, broken leg, unfortunately, small below average arm. Sam Hartman is Taylor Heineke plus. Just keep an
Mm.
eye on Sam Hartman. Also because he has one of the best heads of hair I've ever seen on any human
I
being.
agree. I agree.
He's awesome. Keaton Slovis, USC, then Pitt, then BYU. Was really good his freshman year, pretty decent his sophomore year, kind of tailed off in injuries and stuff. But he was a team captain in all three schools that he attended. So that shows his character. But he's really old, so I don't know. John Rice Plumlee, this is the last guy I'll touch on. Just because he's fun. 4.51 40, ran for 1,000 yards, just over 1,000 yards as a freshman for Ole Miss. Played a little wide receiver, went back to being quarterback. Talented, a really good piano player and singer. Was also an outfielder in college. So there was one where he played a UCF baseball game and then left the game and immediately went over to the UCF spring game. That's just a fun thing. If he becomes a wide receiver, he could be like he'll pop up in a few years like, oh, this guy's really fun. Where did he come from? But yeah, he's a guy where he's just a crazy fun athlete, but I don't think he can make it as a quarterback.
Well, there we go. Name to watch there as a future wide receiver one somewhere. Cool. Moving on now. Next position group I want to touch on here is running back. I kind of really wanted to highlight a few guys here. I don't know that there'll be running backs that'll break the first round, maybe at end of the first round potentially, but we'll have to see there for that. First guy I wanted to touch on here, Trey Benson from Florida State. Um, his player comps is Kenneth Walker Jr. You being a Seattle fan would obviously be able to touch on that a lot more than I would with that. But tell me about Trey Benson.
Yeah, he's got good size, 216, real fast. He's got good power. He's a pretty decent kick returner. He did have a non-contact injury in 2020 in practice. His whole right knee, just all the CLs and ligaments in his knee just were gone. He came back. Um, Even though he's like strong, like he doesn't necessarily like run over people. Just like when they hit him, he doesn't fall down. Um, Via Brett Coleman, NFL like breakdown guy and everything. Um, Florida State ran counter, so that's kind of like you fake one way, then you go the other way. 34% of the time last year, the average NFL team is only around 6%.
Mm.
So that means like 25% of Benson's carries came on counter, went for explosive plays, another 25 dropped for a loss. So there's a whole thing of like, oh, he's a boom bust guy. I don't think like, and I agree with Brett here where it's boom bust just because of the system, or if you just get like, okay, you're just one cut go, or just run straight downhill, or take a toss, you're just going. He'll be just fine. He's again big, fast, kind of like Walker, like good size, good speed. Um, really love him.
Um, Jonathan Brooks is the next guy running back out of Texas. Feels like Texas is a breeding ground for solid running backs here that we've certainly seen throughout the years. This guy certainly is kind of continuing on with that. Very elusive guy, pretty quick, 6 foot 216, so pretty similar to Trey Benson. I think both of them would probably be going around the same time. Pretty similar type guys here. But tell me about Jonathan Brooks. What can someone expect from him?
Yeah, if it wasn't for his ACL injury that happened late in the season, he would have been running back one. He's got everything like I said about Benson, but he's got more power. Um, it's inconsistent, but like it shows more where he's able to run over guys more. Really good receiver. Benson's also a good receiver. I should mention that. But Brooks is a really good receiver. He's kind of like I can't remember who said this, but he's a better Kenyon Drake. If you remember Kenyon Drake, like Drake was fun and
Oh
explosive. That's
yeah,
what Brooks is.
yeah.
So and he's such a good like really good. I should mention this for others, but he was really mentioned a lot as like he's such a good team guy, and he'll just be a really good presence on the team. So really like Brooks too. But like again, like you said, I'll touch on it again. There's no Bijan Robinson in this class,
Right.
but again, running back, you can kind of running back's kind of been devalued because you can kind of put in whatever. So, but these guys, they're really good. Brooks is really fun.
Now the next guy we touched on him a little bit when we brought up JJ McCarthy from Michigan. Now talking about a guy that more or less carried the load for this Michigan offense the last few years, and that is Blake Corum, a guy that is, I mean, he's going to do everything that's asked of him. Um, are we worried at now again 23? So younger, but running back years, you know, say what you will about that. There's a whole debate for that for another day. Blake Corum, are we worried about the amount of reps that has already been tallied on him and then that translating into the NFL? Or is this something that we shouldn't be worried about and could be a solid piece for a decent team?
Yeah, for where Corum will probably get drafted like third round. Well, maybe he'll go second round, but like third round and like beyond, it'll be just fine. Like, yeah, he has a lot of wear and tear, but honestly, just like he's still really good. And at the end of the day, like running backs usually they're only good for their first contract, anyways, for the most part.
Mm.
So he'll be just fine for that. Really good in tight spaces. He's only 205 pounds, but he's really strong. But he's got a little bit of wiggle in tight spaces where it's like he's in a phone booth and suddenly he pops out. But he doesn't really have like speed. Like he'll break 20 yards. First 20 yards will be awesome, but then he'll get tracked down. So he's not gonna like have breakaway runs. But he's a good patient runner. So like sometimes he has these longer runs just because he's like smart, like letting his guys blockers get ahead of him.
Mhm.
Um, I this is gonna sound mean, but he's a short yardage merchant. A
Mhm.
lot, he had put up a lot of touchdowns, but a lot of it was because he was on the goal line. Like there's a highlight reel where it's like, I think they're playing UConn, and like all his touchdowns were just like 1 yard, just dives, and first and goal, just dive to the end zone behind a great offensive line. Which I mean, good on him for like reading the right hole, but like it's 1 yard, so he could get a lot of running backs to do that. Where I don't think he's like anything special really athletically, but he's just smart. He's tough, so he'll be a good fun guy to have. Never a number one running back, but good quality piece.
So that's what I was gonna ask me my next question. Could we see him being a three down back at all, or not so much? Maybe short yardage guy?
Um, I mean he can catch. His pass blocking's like he's willing, and that's half the battle, kind of.
Yeah,
You
that's
always say
true.
it's half the battle, but it's not really because like he's not his technically he's not really good as a pass blocker. Um, but I mean, like if you needed him to, he could be a three down guy, but you'd prefer him to be just your high end backup, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens there. Maybe he'll team up with his quarterback here
Mhm.
on the team. And then the next guy, and then I'll let you kind of take it away here with running backs, is Jalen Wright out of Tennessee, 5'11", 210. Player comp, Raheem Mostert. Obviously, when you talk about Raheem Mostert, you're talking about speed, right? Well, this guy ran a 4.38 at the combine. So definitely can move it with the best of them out here. Athleticism is off the charts with that. Um, what do we think is, this is a home run type running back talent. I think this is a guy that can outrun just about anyone. Do we see him being a potential steal in the draft for a team? Where do we think he's going to fall?
Yeah, so kind of the opposite of Corum. He only had less than 400 offensive touches. He had some like injuries, but then like that also means like he didn't get that many touches, and he's got healthy. Whenever he flashed, he ran a 10.8285 meter as a junior in high school. For comparison, Devon A Chain ran a 10.48 in college. So like, yeah, A Chain would have smoked him. Like, Wright is a lot heavier than A Chain and everything, so that's pretty good. Um, long speed as well. Um, he doesn't have that much experience though. Like I said, less than 400 offensive touches. But he's the guy where if you just like put him in a system, it's like, hey man, just this is your hole. You don't have to read like this is the hole. He can be really fun. And eventually, again, because he has less tread, you can work him in, get him more reps, and then he could become a really fun steal, like you said.
Now, talk to me more about some of the other running backs that probably aren't going to get their name called early, but maybe late round steals potentially.
Yeah, Marshawn Lloyd. He went from USC, University of South Carolina, to USC, University of Southern California. Good burst, agile. He's pretty big, um, but he kind of runs like a smaller back. Not that he doesn't try to power over guys, but he's really fun. But some injuries and stuff. Not like the most like explosive. Like he's not doesn't have the long speed, but he's really fun. Audric Estime, Notre Dame. So he could dunk before he was a teenager. Uh, he's got power. He's 222 pounds, 7% body fat. Awesome on kickoff coverage. 26 of 26 passes he caught them. But he's kind of a little stiff, and he kind of needs like he needs a little bit of a runway. Once he's going, he's gone. Braylon Allen, 235 from Wisconsin. So he should be like the typical Wisconsin power back, right? No. No, he's like a speed back, which is really weird. He's like a speed scat back with like really good feet, but he's big. So like just because he's big, he's able to break out of tackles, but he's not like the typical Wisconsin power back, which is kind of weird, but it's really fun. My one of my favorite guys from Monmouth, Jaden Sheridan, 5'8", 187. Um, explosive stuff. So he had a 171-yard game with a long run of 81, 251-yard game with a long run of 75, 276 game with a long of 72. But he's not powerful. Like he's tiny. He's really tiny, but he's so fast. He's so much fun. He'll be like a preseason darling, where like he might get cut just because like he was playing against like the third stringers, but like it's like why didn't he make the team? He's so much fun. Opposite side, Bucky Irving from Oregon. He's small. He's 5'9", 192, but he's a power back. I don't know. That's how he ran. Like he kept dominating Washington, and I hated it. Pretty good hands. So, he's a power back, but like again, because it's kind of the opposite of Braylon Allen. He plays like a power back, but he's small, so he's gonna get tackled. So I don't know. One of the feel good stories, Ray Davis from Temple to Vanderbilt in Kentucky,
Hmm.
foster care, entered the foster care system at age 8. Just a lot of bouncing around and everything, different
Yeah.
homes and everything. Um, Sports is escape. He's 5'8", but 211. Great
Wow.
agility, great power runner. He will kind of get caught from behind. He's gonna also be 25 and like plenty of wear and tear and injuries, but he's just so much fun. Or you're gonna have him on the team where he'll be like the fun third string running back who'll come in for like 5 carries a game, but every single carry is gonna be entertaining.
Electric.
Exactly. Will Shipley from Clemson. He got a lot of Christian McCaffrey comparison just because he's white. And no, he's not. He's not as good of a runner, but got really good hands, pretty decent burst. Doesn't have the long speed, but pretty decent burst, pretty decent kick returner, and strong enough where he's just a solid, like, oh, he will come in. He's kind of like a little bit of a bigger and not as fast or athletic Darren Sproles, but still pretty fun to have. My two favorite guys, Tyron Tracy Jr., was a wide receiver at Iowa. Iowa doesn't throw the ball. So he transferred to Purdue, became a running back. Um, Super good athlete. Really fast, good on kick coverage. Just needs more reps, but he's so fast and fun. Isaac Garendo, from Wisconsin, then Louisville. He's like 222 pounds. Um, but he can move. He joined Devon Achane and Keaton Mitchell as the only running backs to reach 24 miles per hour on a 40-yard dash over the last 2 years at the combine. So Grendo got to 24.08 miles per hour and ran a 4.3340. But the thing is, again, Achane's 188 pounds, Mitchell's 175 pounds or 79 pounds, Garendo's 222 pounds. Big, fast, strong, former wide receiver, so he's got good hands, but he just needs more reps under his belt. Cody Schrader from D2 Truman State, then Missouri, 5'8", but 208. So
Yeah.
he's like squat, big, valiant runner, good hands, led the SEC in rushing. Not the fastest guy, but he's so gritty and tough. And like dominated D2, then went to Missouri, dominated the SEC. Dylan Johnson, Mississippi State and Washington, go Huskies. Powerful. He scored 53 points in a high school basketball game one time. Pretty good. Athletic feet, not like the fastest guy, but he's so tough. He had a broken right foot, a left ankle sprain, high left ankle sprain, ruptured bursa sac in his left knee, but he played through all those injuries. Just tough, tough dude. So many other names here that I could go to, but I know a little bit tight in time. One more guy we're gonna touch on, just because it make us feel old. Frank Gore Jr. from Southern Miss.
Oh,
Um, he was 18 of 36 with 8 touchdowns and 1 interception because sometimes they just had him pass. Um, he's he just he's his dad but smaller, so like he'll be fine. Oh, one more guy, Carson Steele, Ball State and UCLA. He has a pet alligator named Crocky J. Had him since first grade. It's almost 6 foot now. So yeah,
oh boy. Bigger than
yeah.
him.
So there's your fun fact there.
Well, I appreciate the fun fact. And Frank Gore Jr., may I guess he'll be in the league for the next 20 years. So
Yeah,
expect to see
exactly.
his name. Um, so moving on now to wide receiver slash tight end. It's kind of funny. I think tight ends go really is real only probably going to be one huge guy we're going to be briefing on, but wide receiver especially, it's going to be pretty large. I'm definitely excited to see where a lot of these guys fall. A lot of potential early to mid round, first round picks here, so we'll see where they go. Obviously, the first one on here likely is going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. And from NFL Draft The Ringer, the player comp is if Marvin Harrison Sr. had a really tall son.
Yep.
So figure out the joke there, and there you go, good one. Um, Again, what more can be said about him that hasn't already been said? Athletic, sure hands, the IQ, very high IQ, a guy that you certainly want on your team, tossing the ball to. Um, so talk to me about Marvin Harrison Jr. Tell me something that maybe hasn't already been said about him.
Yeah, I'll just keep this short and sweet because we can just move on. But size check, speed check. Tracked at 23.1 miles per hour in a game. In comparison, Tyreek Hill put up 23.24 his rookie year.
Yeah.
So Harrison can move. Good hands, loves football, crafty runner. He doesn't just like he didn't really like want to win on just jump balls, even though he could. Like go watch the Rutgers game on this past year. Um, he his quarterback wasn't really that good. But they just threw him jump balls because like, all right, Rutgers is hanging around for some reason. We're just gonna throw jump balls to Harrison Jr. and it worked. But he wants to win by being a crafty route runner, um, and getting off press and everything like that. And he's such a good route runner. Only negative is that press coverage can kind of get to he's like still big, but press coverage can kind of get to him. He only forced 5 missed tackles, so like yards after the catch and might not have that in his bag and run whatever, but run blocking is subpar, but what who cares? It's run blocking. He'll be fine. You don't oh no, he can't get off press. You can line him up off coverage or whatever and get him off press. Yards after the catch, it's fine if you can chuck him 20 yard a, a 20-yard pass, whether it's through the air or it's 10 yards and running, a 20-yard pass is a 20-yard pass. So Marvin Harrison Jr., clear number one wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers we've seen in a long time coming out in the draft.
And a fun fact about him: once set up a jugs machine inside of a hotel. So
Hmm.
he certainly is committed to the brand and will do whatever it takes to get his reps in. Super excited to see what this guy does. Hopefully, kind of mentioned before, going on a team like potentially Arizona would be massive. Having Kyler Murray there, will, by far and away would be the number one. I'm pumped to see what this guy does in the NFL. Uh, so let's see what happens there for Maserati Marv, as they call him. Next guy here coming out of LSU, Malik Neighbors. Um, 20 years old, so definitely on the younger side of things, but 2023 stats off over 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns, 89 catches. This guy is a big play machine. He's going to come up with the big play when you need him. Can do just about every types of things you want a wide receiver to do when it comes to routes, and he's going to do it. So certainly is reliable, not only the deep threat, but maybe in the medium game too. Can make big plays happen. Malik Neighbors, so talk to me about him too. Obviously was Jaden Daniels' guy this last year. So tell me what he can do for you.
Yeah, ran a 4.38 that showed up on film. Looked like he would run even faster. He just glides. It doesn't look like he's running a 4.38, but suddenly it's like, oh, he's separated 10 yards from the defender. It's just so smooth. But then he can go from 0 to 60, back to 0, then back to 60 so effortlessly. So he's not just like straight line speed guy. He was a center fielder in high school, and he credits that, and it shows he tracks the ball so well. But he's only another 199 pounds, 6 foot. So he might just be a slot guy, which isn't a bad thing, but he might just be a
Mhm.
super elite slot guy just because in the slot you don't get that much press coverage because press coverage just like ends him. But because he's so quick and stuff, like I think he'll be fine outside because he can beat press coverage. It's just that if he gets hands on him, he's kind of done. But yeah, he's so explosive, which is why there's been a little chatter like, oh, teams like him better than Harrison just because like he has just so much more juice and giddy up, which some teams might like, but at the end of the day, um, I'd still go Harrison over him, but you can't go wrong with neighbors.
What would be the best NFL player comp to him right now, you think?
Um,
Off the top of your head, that's kind of a knee-jerk question there, but
I mean, it's kind of a easy one, and it's kind of like shooting for the stars one, but it's not as strong because like he is strong, not as strong Tyreek Hill.
okay.
Um, just like the athleticism, just like again the stop and start and everything, and just being a really good receiver. But again, Hill is people forget like Hill is just pure muscle.
Yeah.
Neighbors is muscle too, but like Hill is like surprisingly strong. So
Yeah.
that's like he'll be like a low end Hill. Probably you don't want to ever compare him to like say he's gonna be Tyreek Hill because that's you don't want to do that.
Unbelievable expectations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sets him up for failure. It makes me look foolish, but yeah, that would be like kind of an easy one off the top of my head.
Okay. Our first tight end off the board is going to be Brock Bowers out of Georgia. This guy is unbelievable talent. I cannot tell you how much I would love him to drop to Miami and be our tight end one considering we had 0 touchdowns from tight ends last year, and Durham Smythe was our guy. Love Durham Smythe, but if he's your number one tight end in any situation, gotta upgrade. Gotta upgrade. Um, but Brock Bowers, I'm really excited to see this guy can do it all. He can do it all. He's very talented. Um, what are we thinking for Brock Bowers? What's your thoughts on him?
They used Brock Bowers on jet sweeps, and like he took them to the house, like 60-yard long touchdown jet sweeps. Um, so yeah, that's kind of athlete he is. There's the whole thing like, oh, Kyle Pitts was drafted high and like tight end valley and everything, but Pitts was really good. Don't forget, Pitts was really good his rookie year. Then he's had like really bad injuries, and the quarterback play and the offensive play calling in Atlanta's bad. Bowers is really good. Don't necessarily really wanting him lining up as a tight end in line, but it's
Yeah,
fine. I saw a thing where it's like he's kind of like how they use Kyle Juszczyk, just like line him up all over the place. You can line him Juszczyk up as a receiver, as a tight end, as a fullback, as a whatever. But Bowers like is nowhere near as good as a blocker as Juszczyk, but he's willing and like he's a big body, so like he can get him running at somebody, he'll stop them at least. And I think you have to be creative and know that Bowers isn't just a tight end.
yep,
It's kind of simple to just call him an offensive weapon, but as long as
sure.
you're creative and like just get him the ball in his hands, just give him the ball. Just give him the ball, please.
Yep.
And he's gonna be so awesome. So awesome.
Now, if there were to be any areas of concern, which I don't think it will be, is the size. He is only 6'3". So if you are thinking of him, like you said, as a tight end, following under that, but I would agree with you. I think if you just draft him as being offensive player Brock Bowers, that's not going to matter. And like you
Yeah.
said, 243 pounds, so big body. And he's, like you mentioned, very athletic for being 243 and 6'3". So I think any team that gets him is going to love having him on the team. And like you said, line him up just about anywhere. I think you're going to find success. So drop to Miami. Drop to Miami. But we'll see what happens here. Moving on to our next guy is probably the number one Washington receiver here. There's going to be a few guys I'm sure we'll touch on a bit. But Rome Odunze, talk to me about him. 6'3", 212 junior. Was Penix's guy, I think. 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns. Talk to me about him.
Yeah, so even though like Harrison is like number one and Neighbors is more explosive, just hear all the talk and everything that just teams just love Odunze because he's just so solid. He is so solid. He's solidly built. He's 6'2". He's almost 6'3", 212 pounds. He's tough. Has some punt return ability, which also there's like if they put you on punt return, that means like you have good hands,
Hmm.
great hands. So a really smart player. Models his game. Um, in an interview with Kevin Clark, he said he models his game after Devontae Adams and Keenan Allen, which is good because like those guys aren't necessarily like the most physical of physical freaks,
Right.
but they just win because they're so smart and their route running is crazy and their
They can
hands are
catch at all
awesome.
three levels, too. All three levels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's not like, oh, like if they're in the open field, like you're afraid of them being caught. Like they're gonna run away from people.
Hmm.
Um, he's not like, I guess a knock is like he's not the most agile guy. He's not like breaking ankles, but it's fine. And like he had broken ribs and a punctured lung in September this last season and did not miss a game. Didn't look like he took a step back either. He just kept playing and he's awesome. Um, and just a fun fact about his name. Yes, he was named after the Roman Empire because his dad loves history. That's why he was named Rome. So
I had
yeah,
no idea. That's actually amazing.
yeah. So he's so much fun, man. And watching him at Washington, like like I said with Penix, like he made Penix look a lot more accurate than he is just because he would go make crazy throws. Like go watch the first game against Oregon, game winning touchdown in the last 2 minutes, just goes up and just destroys just Moss is a dude. Just perfect. Like waits the last second, gets his hands, grabs the ball, shields it from the defender. Everything just textbook perfect. Um, just saying like if he can somehow slip to the Bears at 9, that would be so much fun because then he'll be there with Keenan Allen, and then when Keenan Allen's old, Keenan Allen's out the door, you have Rome and DJ Moore, and that would be really fun for Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams throwing the ball. Holy cow, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
Exactly.
Moving on to the next LSU stud here, Brian Thomas Jr., 6'4", 205, 17 touchdowns this year. So definitely finds his way into the end zone a lot. That was the most in the FBS this last year, 17 touchdowns. Very elusive guy after the catch. Not a super diverse route runner, but can make plays, at the levels if you ask him to. But going to be a deep playmaker type guy here. Talk to me about him.
Yeah, I think just to make this quick and also just it's a perfect comparison. You remember Martavis Bryant?
Yeah.
How that guy he's just like so long as like the routes didn't have any like breaks in them, it was just kind of like deep crossers or just like go straight down the field. That's Brian Thomas Jr. 4.3, 340, and just again touchdowns galore. He hustled too. Like he was I feel like Jaden Daniels runs against Florida. Thomas was down the field hustling, blocking.
Mhm.
Um, so like you don't really want him like trying to like do snap off routes like at 3rd and 6, like break it off right at the sticks. But yeah, just send him deep. He'll get it for you. Get him like get him on the move. Get him like a quick like crossing route. He's gonna turn it upfield and he's gonna be gone. So Brian Thomas Jr. is there's a reason that even with Malik Neighbors on his team that he led college football in touchdowns.
Now I'm going to tell you this. I wish we could do a whole podcast on the wide receiver talent that is going to be in this draft because
Hmm.
honestly, it is there is a lot of very solid wide receiver play coming into the draft. Fortunately, won't be able to give probably everyone the credit that they are deserved of having. But uh, what are some other guys that you want to highlight here on the wide receiver tight end side of things that are going to make a big difference? And like I said, there's probably about 10 to 20 guys that could make an immediate impact next year, but it's tough to give them all the credit here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long list, but I'm gonna move quick.
Go
Ladd
ahead.
McConkey from Georgia. You want Tyler Lockett, Emmanuel Sanders, low end Antonio Brown, with less of a catch radius? That's Ladd McConkey. Okay, he's not like a stereotypical. He's white, but he's not the stereotypical Patriot slot wide receiver. He's not that. Franklin from Oregon. He's tall, skinny, but he's a really good route runner. He kind of goes up against the ball, but then he doesn't always catch it, but he'll go up and get it at least. He's not really agile. He's kind of just like he's really stiff, whatever. But he's really fun. Adonai Mitchell from Georgia, then Texas. It looks like he's moving slowly sometimes, but then you look at everyone else and it looks like they're moving at 0.75 speed. Um, it's like he's just so smooth. He tracks the ball and gets it. He showed up in big games. He kept delivering college football playoff games. He also had the fortune of playing in Georgia, Texas, but like he would always show up in those games. Sometimes it looks like he was coasting,
Mm.
but like a lot of Texas, for some reason, the Texas offense, like players would do that. So I don't know. I don't know what that was. Maybe it's just a Texas offense thing. But yeah, he's a guy where I think physically he could be seen as, oh my gosh, how come this guy didn't go top 10
Mhm.
in a few
Yeah.
years? Um, Xavier Worthy from Texas, 4.21
Oh,
40-yard
cow.
dash record. He's actually like he's a really good return man and is actually really good at tracking the ball on deep routes. So he's kind of like, but he drops the ball a lot. And he's not physical because he's so small. He's like a lesser Deshaun Jackson, like really lesser Deshaun Jackson. But that's not that bad. Do not draft him in the first round. No, honestly, I think he'd be fine in the second round. Keon Coleman, one of my personal favorites, just because he's big, 6'3", 213. Um, Not the fastest guy running in a straight line, but he's super agile. He was the punt returner for Florida State. That means like you got good hands again, and you're agile. He seriously considered just focusing on basketball, and like he played on the Michigan State basketball team. He didn't play like that many minutes, but he was on the team at Michigan State. Um, Makes like some ridiculous stupid catches. Roman Wilson, small, quick, decent hands, but I just want to read this thing from the Ringer.
Yeah.
Uh, Wilson grew up on the island of Maui in Hawaii, but he attended St. Louis High School in Honolulu. St. Louis like powerhouse. Um,
Yeah.
I cannot remember either Mariota or Tunga Valoa went there, or like Manti Te'o went there. One of those guys went there. So that's on the island of Oahu. So he flew for the first month of his freshman year at just 14 years old. Wilson would wake up at 4 a.m. His mom would drive him to the airport to take a 6 a.m. flight. He'd land around 7, take the public bus to school, and arrive a little before 8, which was still late, but what can you do? He'd go to school, full practice, hop on a return flight, and be home around 9 p.m.
Oh, cow.
His dad worked on Alaska or Hawaiian Airlines, which allowed Wilson to fly standby and sit in unsold seats for free. But that means he couldn't board if the flight was full, and he wouldn't find out if there was a seat ahead of time. So he had to wake up early, show up, and then like, do I have a seat? Okay. And on weekends, he sometimes had to be stranded at the airport for 6 hours. Eventually, that's like after the first month, he's like he lived with families like on Oahu, just lived around with them. Again, your kid, he's homesick, but he battled through because he loves football. He's really fun. That if you're gonna do that as a freshman in high school, you're
Yeah,
gonna make it in the NFL because you
that's
have
good. That's
guts.
commitment.
Exactly. Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, wide receivers from Washington. They're just guys who, if it's 3rd and 6, they will get you that 3rd and 6. They're so much fun. That's why again Penix had so many good NFL wide receivers on his team. They're not the most explosive guys, Polk and McMillan, but again they're tough and they'll make the catches. Ricky Pearsall,
My boy,
Arizona
Slick
State to
Rick.
Florida. My gosh, dude, this guy, he's I thought he was 6'3". He plays like he's 6'3". He's not. It's just that he
Yeah.
goes up and catches balls, which is ridiculous. Um, he's so much fun. Please, when he's on the team, he's gonna be like a fun at the lowest number 3, just because he'll make like really stupid catches. And everyone's like, why aren't we throwing him the ball more? It's like, well, I don't know. Malik Washington, 5'8", but 194. So he's thick build, twitchy, little old. He was in college for 5 years, but he's still strong. Xavier Legette, 6'1", 221, 439, 40. Unfortunate, his parents passed away 4 years apart
Hmm.
while he's in high school. But his dad, South Carolina fan, was able to see him commit to South Carolina at the very least. And then he had a motorcycle accident. Legette did. Um, on the field, he was forced to be a quarterback in high school, and then he ran for almost 2,000 yards his senior year. Because he's just such a good athlete. So he still learned to be a wide receiver. But like I said, when the ball's in his hands, you need an army with race cars to bring him down because he's fast and strong. He had a 100-yard kickoff return versus Texas A&M, where it's really fun. He breaks multiple tackles. He's raising his hand to celebrate while he's still at the 50-yard line, and he just flies to the end zone. That's a fun one. Um, Malachi Coley from Western Kentucky. Yards after the catch, yards after the catch, yards after the catch, yards after the catch. That's all you need to know about him. Um, let's see, Jermaine Burton. This one's a little bit iffy because off the field, he was he was a more than he's more than a knucklehead. Like Georgia and Alabama coaches had problems with him. He swung at a woman when Tennessee stormed the field against them. So like character concerns are there, but if you can get him to mature and be a better person, he just gets open and catches everything. Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice's son. So it shows he's really smooth, but he's still kind of learning to be like never really took over in college, but he's Jerry Rice's son. Like give him a chance. Um, Johnny Wilson, Arizona State and Florida State, 6'6", 231. Might be like Devin Funchess, if you remember, like big guy
Mm-hmm.
who eventually became a tight end, just because Wilson, he'd never played tight end. He doesn't know how to block. But go watch him in the bowl game against Oklahoma, I think 2020, 2021. Shows how good he is. Luke McCaffrey, yes, he is a McCaffrey. Like he's from that family. He was a quarterback, then became a wide receiver. Really good athlete. Um, really good route running, really good hands. Um, so that's the guy to keep a watch on. And then I'm gonna skip down here. Cole Burgess from SUNY Cortland, Division 3. But I watched the Division 3 title game this last year. Go watch the highlights, please. It's one of the best college games of this past year. He had 11 receptions, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. Dude is just a baller at D3. Like at the lower levels, you want to see a guy dominate, like and just be clearly better than everybody, and that's what he is. Same with Jalen Coker from Holy Cross FCS. That's another guy who did the same thing. And finally, I just want to say the name of this guy because it's really fun. Jared Jared Means, but his nickname and he goes by Bub Means.
I like it. I like it.
Oh, sorry, one more, just because it's really fun. Phoenix Sproles. He's the cousin
Oh,
of Darren Sproles,
okay.
wide receiver at North Dakota State, then James Madison. Some injuries, but he's just so smooth. Like you can think of Darren Sproles just taller and bigger and a wide receiver and just smooth. He's so much fun to watch. Not that much production because of injuries, but he's so much fun to watch. Just like when he ever gets the ball in his hands, like man, I can see Darren Sproles in there. It's fun.
Phoenix. I like it. That's a dope name. It's a dope
Hmm.
name. Move on to our big boys here, the offensive linemen. Talked about wide receivers dominating the first round. I think O linemen will probably be right up there with them, maybe even more potentially going in the first round here. First guy I want to touch on out of Penn State. I'm gonna try here, so give me a break. You know, you're my name guy. You're my name guy. Um, Olamuyiwa Fashanu. How'd we do?
Yeah. So you got Fashanu.
Okay.
And I still have to look at the pronunciation because I just know him as Olu. It's usually just Olu, but then they put the full name. It's Olumuyiwa. Olumuyiwa Fashanu.
Olamuyiwa.
Um, he played with Caleb Williams in high school. Um, really, really good. Would have been a top 15 pick last year. Decided to come back. Kind of took a step down the eyes of some, just but he had some injuries and like the Ohio State game, he didn't really play that well against like that's top talent. And so like he got knocked there, but he's such a good pass blocker. He's such a good athlete. He's still pretty young. 4-year junior, but he's only 21. Um, yeah, like just pass blocking and the NFL is all about passing today. He'll be an awesome pass blocker and like running game, he'll be fine. Just he's big. He'll just lean on people. It's fine. He'll be fine.
A guy that I'm really excited to see how he does in the league here, Joe Alt. This guy's an absolute, he is massive. 6'9", 321 tackle out of Notre Dame. Um, as far as big dudes, pretty quick feet. Pretty quick feet as far as big guys go. What's a team getting if they get Joe Alt?
Yeah, alt he's just really good at everything. Run blocking, pass blocking, is what they like where Fashanu lacks in the run blocking, alt has it. Even though he's tall, he still has really good leverage. Um I don't know. I don't really know offensive line play that well, so I couldn't compare him to like other prospects, but I still think that in any draft he'd be considered a top. I'll be conservative. He'd be considered a top 15 pick in like basically any draft you put him in. He's just so clean, so awesome as a prospect.
And then talk to me about your guy from Washington, Troy Fatanu. 6'4", 317, so definitely a little bit on the smaller side of things go. But comps of Elijah Vera Tucker, so definitely solid player comp there. What's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, they there's like drills at the combine where like they have them like running and everything, and he looks like a tight end when he's running, which is crazy. I went to a UW game this year and we sat in the student section. You can get student section tickets. Life hack for people. You can student section tickets for like early games against like random teams. They played Tulsa, so for pretty cheap. And you get to be like close. And so we were right where they exit out the tunnel, and then we were in the end zone where they were warming up. The dude is so just he's built. He's crazy. Um, a good team, great team guy. Yes, he was a left tackle in college, but technically, because Penix is left-handed, it's right tackle. He wasn't the blind side guy. Don't think of him as blind side, but yes, he could play left tackle. He'll be fine at either tackle position, guard position. Like his body kind of fits better like as a guard. He'll be fine. Having a guy with position versatility like that, um, is valuable. So I think he can be um again like not as physically as imposing as Alt is, but still just a really good guy. Like, especially if you get him like out, like moving, he will run over linebackers 10 yards down the field. It's so much fun.
And then one more guy I want to touch on, kind of in your neck of the woods from Oregon State, Talise Fuaga, 6'6", 324. Again, smooth footwork. It kind of sounds like one of the things to describe him is got that dog in him. So talk to me about the Oregon State tackle.
Yeah, he's such a good run blocker. Just road grader. He can move. There's pass blocking might be a little bit of a concern with him. Because he's a little bit um how am I trying to say it? Trying to be nice about it. Or he's a big guy, yes. Um, I'm just trying to be nice. I personally think he should be drafted a little bit lower than he's being projected just because his pass blocking isn't I don't think it's where it should be to be like a first round pick. but I think at the very least he's learning, and he's a big body, and like half the battle, it's just getting around a big body, and he'll like survive as a pass blocker, and like he can learn. So I just don't know if he should be like a high end first round pick like I've seen some people have. But I still think he's really, really good. Just again, like his movement ability when run blocking is fun.
Now moving over to the other, is there any other old linemen that you wanted to touch on here?
Yeah, I'll just touch on some guys who are going to go in the first round. JC Latham, he's like an
Yep.
old school Alabama tackle where he's big, but he's a good athlete. Run blocker again, pass blocking is fine. And again, like he's a really big dude, just like getting around him is hard for defensive ends. So that's gonna be really like they'll by the time they get around him, the quarterback should have thrown the ball. Graham Barton from Duke, position versatility, where like some people are like, oh, he's gonna just kick into guard right away because he doesn't really project as a tackle body wise, but I think he could be a really quality tackle, both tackles, really good guard, and I think he could play center too, and he's a really good athlete. Amarius Mims from Georgia is a gigantic human being. People keep saying he's raw. He's not raw. Whenever you see him play, he just played in 8 games. He looks good. He looks real good. He's just inexperienced. That's it. Draft him, be willing to let him develop and learn, take some lumps, maybe get the design plays to get your quarterback rolling away from him. But he's gonna be really good just because in just 8 games, he already looks like a stud pass blocker, run blocker. Found a guy, Jackson Powers Johnson, center. He's built like SpongeBob, but like if SpongeBob was big, um, he can move. Just he has had a ton of concussions, and so like and concussions, like the more you get concussions, the more susceptible you are to getting them. So that's a big concern. But if he can stay concussion free, he's going to be a really, really fun center to watch in the league for a long time.
Moving on now, we'll move on to the defensive end side of things. I think there's definitely probably two guys that I think are going to go fairly. I think one guy potential top 10 talent we'll have to see, but boy, Latu from UCLA. I'm not going to try because I know I'm going to mess it up, but very explosive, big dude, 6'5", 259. For being as big as he can move pretty well too. So talk to me about him.
Yeah, Leatu Latu, um, played at Washington, medically retired, then went to UCLA. They cleared him there, which is kind of weird because Jalen Phillips, not they're not
Yeah,
the same player, but Jalen Phillips medically retired from UCLA, then went to Miami.
yeah.
So I don't really know if it was different doctors or something, but Latu is so crafty, where it's kind of thing where he doesn't necessarily have like the high end power, but just because he has all the moves as a pass rusher, he's going to be just fine in the NFL because you cannot stop him because he'll have a move to your counter move and then a counter move to your counter move, and he'll be just fine as a pass rusher. Or I suppose I'll just jump in real quick. Dallas Turner.
Yeah.
Dallas Turner is such a high end athlete, dude. And when came in as freshman in Alabama, people were like, "Oh my gosh, he's the next great one," which he never really did become the next great one. So I don't know what happened there, but he's such a good athlete. Um, if I was picking between the two, I'd probably take. There's a thing in the NFL where it's like they said, like in the NFL, you want to, or in the draft, especially in the first round, you want to take the freaks of natures, the abnormal guys
Yep.
who also have production. And Turn to me has had enough production, and he's such a freak. Where take him over Latu because Latu is again doesn't have the high end tank. But when it comes to just being a pure pass rusher, Latu is your guy.
And one of my favorite names in the draft, Chop Robinson, out of Penn State, 6'3", 254. This dude is pretty built, but athleticism is definitely off the charts with that. So touch on him for me quick.
Yeah. So Penn State, like they're legendary for just producing crazy athletes. Um Yatur Gross Matos, people remember like pretty good athlete, Micah
Yep.
Parsons, um, Chop Robinson. So the thing is with Chop though, um, he I don't know what it is, man. Like he didn't really produce that much at Penn State. Maybe because like he was just still learning, but I don't know. It was really weird. Like you'd expect a guy like him to just dominate, but like he had I'll just read off his sack numbers real quick. 2 sacks in 30 games played his freshman year, 5.5 sacks his next year, then this last year where he started 10 games. 4 sacks. So I don't know, like he was able to put pressure, but is it like a thing where because he's a little bit on the smaller side, he's 254. He could probably put up more weight, to be honest. But was it a thing where just he's just still learning and just he was such a freak athlete, he just tried to be an athlete, where at the NFL you can't just be an athlete. Um, and real quick on Turner, even though I said
Yeah.
he's a good athlete, Turner has enough like pass rushing ability to be good. But like Robinson, I don't know, like but he's such a good freak athlete where like yeah you want to get him and like he did put enough pressure on the quarterbacks where it's like okay like maybe hopefully he can finish and make sacks in the NFL.
Any other guys you wanted to touch on the defensive end side of things?
Yeah, Jared Verse from Albion and Florida State, he's just strong. He is so strong. He could have come out last year, would have been a first round pick. Came back, didn't really improve his draft stock just because like he kind of is what he is. He's strong. He's not really a high end athlete, but he's just so powerful. But that means he's gonna be really good in the run game because he'll just hold his own. Darius Robinson's an interesting one just because he was invited to the draft, but it's kind of like the draft is in Detroit. He's from Detroit, so maybe it's a homecoming thing for him. But again, he's just strong. Marshawn Nealon from Western Michigan physically looks like a first rounder. The only reason he might not make the first round is just because he played at Western Michigan, but he dominated lower competition and looked pretty good against like Iowa and I think they played Illinois or something like that. When they played like higher level teams, he didn't stick out as a sore thumb. He looked fine. Austin Booker from Kansas, less than 400 snaps, but just a freak athlete, really good. Gabriel and Grayson Murphy, they're twins from North Texas, and they transferred to UCLA. They're just really fun. They'll be like solid, like rotational guys, and it's fun. Like they're twins. Um, Last guy, Muhammad Kamara from Colorado State. Um, just really smart, really like just sound in everything that he does. Go watch him against Colorado. And yeah, Colorado didn't have the best offensive line, but he took over that game. And he got thrown out for like a questionable targeting penalty in the overtime, but he's a guy who just have him rushing the passer, nothing else. Just put him in on third and long. You're gonna love him. Have like probably like 6 sacks a year, just surprising people.
Now moving on to our linebackers and defensive line, not as strong of a class, kind of what we've seen, but out of both of those position groups, what are some guys that you think are worth mentioning that might sneak into the first round, you think?
Yeah, so Jazier Johnny Newton from Illinois, for the longest time he was going to be defensive tackle one, but then he's not. I guess he's not as high end of an athlete as Byron Murphy from Texas. Like Byron Murphy's crazy,
Mhm.
and like worthy. But still think Newton's such a good pass rusher from the inside. He should go first round. Murphy, like I said, crazy athlete, a little undersized at defensive tackle, but it's not when he take on double teams, he's like, okay, I'm just still gonna hold my ground, and he would hold his ground well enough where it's a double team. He takes up an extra body so people can go in. Um, Not a first round guy. Devondre Sweat from Texas, really he's big. He's like 360 something like that, but he's a good athlete. Unfortunately, just want to mention he had a DWI like 2 weeks ago, and
Mm.
he's been open about his history of like partying and stuff. And so the problem is teams already have all the scouting locked up basically with 3 weeks to go, and it's just like background check and everything. So with something happening this close to the draft, he might fall. But if he can mature and like do all that stuff, he's just a fun run plugging dude, a good personality, who like you'll love on to have on your team. Linebacker, Junior Colson from Michigan, Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M. Cooper is kind of just keep him he cannot move sideways or backwards. He's a liability if he does that, but keep him going forwards. Like point him to a section like go, he'll go. Colson, a really smart guy, ran the defense. He was like the quarterback of the defense. He was the middle linebacker making the calls. Really smart. Peyton Wilson from NC State. He's such a freak athlete. He's so good. He's not just he put a bunch of tackles and some people are like, oh, he compiles stats. No, just because he's really crazy good athlete and really smart. Unfortunately, so many injuries, so many injuries. But if he can stay healthy, he could be a top 10 linebacker real quick in the NFL because he's such a fun, smart dude. And again, crazy athlete for his size. Again, he's a big dude too. Um, and one last guy is a long list, but Jordan McGee from Temple, more like a defensive end, but he can play some linebacker. Um, even though he's from Temple and Temple's really bad, he's always hustling even when they were losing. He's so fun pass rushing. He's such a smart player. Hearing him talk about like breaking down stuff, it's like, oh, this dude, like you want him on your team just because of anything. He's gonna be great in the film room.
Moving on to our defensive backs, our last position group here. It's very top heavy. I think there's three guys that we'll all probably see in the first round at some point. Quinion Mitchell from Toledo, Arnold from Alabama, and then Cooper DeJean from Iowa. Talk to me about those guys. Kind of where we see them going, and any other people in that position group you think are worth mentioning.
Yeah, Quinion Mitchell, he locked down people in the MAC in Toledo, but he did play against Ohio State and Marvin Harrison Jr. And yes, Marvin Harrison Jr. got his number, of course he did, but other times Mitchell got his number too. So biggest thing is Mitchell, yes, he dominated lower competition, but when he played the big guns and he played Ohio State, he did not look out of place. He looked like a D1 corner, which is really, really good. Um, he's I have him as my cornerback one, but just I kind of favor the little guys from the small schools. So that's kind of my bias there. But yeah, he would not look out of place if he had been playing in the SEC. Terry and Arnold, he's not like the fastest guy. He only ran like a 4.5, but he's just so smart, so physical, so knowledgeable about just everything going on around him. He's just a really, really good defender. You're gonna want him. He's kind of like Brian Branch, the safety from Alabama, like didn't test super well. So he fell to the second round. But then you get him on your team, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, he's fine. He's totally fine. Love him on our team. And then Cooper DeJean from Iowa. All I gotta say is go look at his punt return touchdown against Minnesota, which unfortunately got called back because of like the weird fair catch rule. But tell me that dude cannot be a corner, and I'll punch you in the face. Cooper DeJean is so crazy. And I know like the comparison to Jalen Ramsey is nuts, but it's just like where you can line him up anywhere in the defensive backfield
Wow.
and he will ball.
Okay.
And he's such a good punt returner. And with the new kickoff rules, which
Hmm.
give you like so much yardage or like a 20-yard run or runway and everything, I think DeJean could become an all pro returner his rookie year.
Okay.
He's that good of a returner. And the return ability means he's a good athlete. He's really smart. Iowa defensive backs, a lot of times so good. Micah Hyde, Desmond, I don't remember the guy's last name, but he played for the chart. Desmond King,
Hmm.
um, other guys like that, they're really good. And then the last guy who's like probably a lock for the first round, Nate Wiggins from Clemson.
Yeah.
He's fast. He has hustle. He had like a chase down forced fumble against North Carolina, but he's skinny and doesn't tackle well.
Hmm.
He weighed like 170-ish at the combine, but he was sick. I don't know why you would weigh if you're sick because you're losing weight. At his pro day, like he weighed in 180, which is a little better. But yeah, he's just if he's in coverage, he looks cool. Tackling, oh my gosh, he cannot tackle. But the tackler is Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama. First of all, Kool-Aid, great name. But that dude will tackle. He will hit you. Um, he's a good tackler too. Again, like kind of like Arnold, then not the greatest tester, but just these Alabama guys, they know what they're doing. You're gonna want them on your team because they're not ever they will rarely be in a position where they got themselves in trouble.
I love it. I love it. Well, we've kind of gone through the position groups here. Um, at the end, is there any other diamond in the rough players, people that you wanted to give a shout out to, or guys that late round maybe worth a steal on?
Yeah, so Quantez Stiggers, he's from Toronto, the Canadian football team. Why? Because he did not play in college. He went to a semi-pro league, like the fan-controlled football league. That was like a league where like fans
Yeah.
could vote and then they would run that play. And he did good. He like had 5 interceptions in that league, which is crazy because like it was like crazier arena football. And but he did good. Went to Canada, did really good. He was like defensive rookie of the year in Canada, and so that's why because he didn't play college, but all whatever technicality rules, he has to go into the draft instead of just signing. But he's a guy physically and like ball skill wise, he if he's not drafted, he's gonna be one of the first guys signed as an undrafted free agent. He's so good. Um, Just a name I want to mention. There's a cornerback named Storm Duck.
Gotta get him.
Yeah. Safety Malik Mustafa. He hits. He's such a good hitter, but the thing is, he's a really good tackler too. So that's a guy like, oh, this is a fun guy. Sione Vaki from Utah, played safety, and then they're like, hey, we need help at running back. So he played running back, and like he dominated at running back. And then his high school coach came and said, oh, his best position is slot wide receiver. So get him the ball somehow. Sione Vaki is really fun. Trey Taylor, I want to mention, he's from Air Force,
Hmm,
but he's the first Air Force, uh, I think military academy player to win the Jim Thorpe Award, which is given to college football's best defensive back.
okay.
Um, and finally, just this last guy, Tyler Owens from Texas Tech. I don't know anything about him as a player, but I saw this quote, and this is the last thing I'll leave off with. Tyler Owens. Quote, I don't believe in space. I'm real religious, so I think we're alone right now. I don't think there's other planets and stuff like that. I thought I used to believe in the heliocentric thing. That's a big word, but yeah. Heliocentric thing where we used to revolve around the sun and stuff. But then I started seeing flat Earth stuff, and I was like, this is kind of interesting. They started bringing up valid points. So, I mean, I don't know. Could be real, couldn't be. He ran like a fast 40-yard dash. I
Okay.
saw that. So, Tyler Allen's just, like this flat earthers, the people don't believe in the moon. He doesn't believe in space
Well,
or planets.
there you go.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm gonna leave you off with. Tyler Owens, safety from Texas Tech.
Doesn't believe in space. Well, there you have it,
Yeah.
folks. There you have it. Well, Josh, thank you for coming on and chatting some football. I always feel like my football draft IQ goes up like 1,000 points just because you are telling me these players. So thank you very much for coming on and chatting a little bit. Is there anything that you want to plug? Anything that you want to shout out and kind of let the folks know what you're doing?
Yeah, right now, you can go read my stuff, old stuff, but like it's still really good at the transfer portal, cfb.com. Um, doing other stuff. You can find me on Twitter at Josh_Ray_A, just throwing out random sports stuff. You want someone who loves sports, you saw this, hire me. As Lucas will know, I have so many other notes here that we didn't get to just because we ran out of time. But otherwise, just hit me up. Um, watch Lucas and Doetkott stuff, man, because this stuff is great, man, that they do
Thank you.
here. So
Appreciate that.
yeah, and just excited for the draft coming up, man. This is gonna be awesome.
Yep, this is the guy that you definitely want to follow when draft day comes around. He's going to give you all the best takes out there and his opinions too. So certainly follow him, and I'll be sure to plug all the places that you can follow him after as well too. But anyways, folks, thank you very much for joining along, listening to Josh and I's episode here. Some pre-draft coverage. So like I said, certainly watch a draft. Stay in tune. It's a great time, and I love everything that happens with it. But anyways, folks, as for Josh and myself, until next time, we are out.